Welcome, everyone. I'm Frank Fear with Women's March Fort Myers, and I'm here with Marian Frane, who's the founder of Women's March Fort Myers, and we're here to have a great conversation with three outstanding candidates for the election on November 3rd. So without any further ado, let's turn to our candidates and have them introduce themselves to you. Jackie, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacquelyn McMiller, and I am a candidate for the mayor of the city of Fort Myers.
Thank you. Shawn?
My name is Shawn Williams. I'm running for the Florida House of Representatives, District 78, which covers most of central Lee County.
Very good. Todd?
That's for
Very
Shawn.
good.
Todd Truax. I'm running for Lee County Commission, District 3. Everybody in Lee County gets to vote for me, not just the people in District 3. So if you're a registered voter in Lee County, you will find my name under District 3, Todd James Truax, and I need your vote.
Good information about voting there. And Marian?
Hi, everybody. I'm Marian Frane, the founder of the Women's March Fort Myers. This video is produced by the Women's March Fort Myers and is offered as a public service to the voters in Fort Myers and Lee County area. Women's March Fort Myers is a 501c4 nonprofit organization, and we proudly endorse the three candidates who are appearing on this video today.
Yeah, very important information. We'll turn to you, Todd, for your opening comments.
But I am Todd Truax. I've been a 22-year resident of Southwest Florida, serving the seniors, the elderly, the frail, the infirm, the addicted, and children of Southwest Florida for 22 years. My background is healthcare administration, social service administration. I'm a clinician through mental health, and I'm an administrator through long-term care. I'm licensed in the state of Florida for both social worker and nursing home administrator. I've run assisted living and skilled nursing facilities for quite a few years. From the villages in Central Florida all the way down to Naples and everywhere in between, from St. Pete down to Fort Myers. I've taken care of a lot of people's grandmas, grandpas, kids, and veterans. So I see this campaign as a county commissioner as an expansion of my community service. My focus on healthcare will help allay everyone's fears for the COVID epidemic. And with a simple gesture like I just did, we can save more lives than pretending as if it doesn't exist. You can count on a mask ordinance from me, a vote on that on the day I'm sworn in, November 17th. Should all go as planned November 3rd on the election. The county commissioners are sworn in at the courthouse steps, and everyone viewing this is invited to attend. I will be there, win or lose, hopefully win.
Very good. Thank you. Shawn?
Again, my name is Shawn Williams. Hopefully your next House of Representative. I'm a results-driven CPA. I have a small business owner. I'm also a community leader and working in housing, equity and diversity, as well as just community service in general, giving back. And I find this is my extension of my community service. I do have a fairly good CPA practice, and I just want to help small businesses. I want to help the community and take care of real kitchen table issues that folks are dealing with. The cost of housing, the cost of medicine, access to health care. I'm a lifelong resident of Lee County. I love this community. I graduated Estero High School, and I was the first to graduate college in my family. So I am very driven to results and making things better for everyone else.
Thank you very much. Jacquelyn?
Hello, my name is Jacquelyn McMiller again. I am a mother, I'm a corporate owner, and most of all, I'm an activist that have lived in the city of Fort Myers for over 50 years. I have raised my children here, my grandchildren here, my glamorous grandchildren here, and this is where we live, but this is where I am committed to ensuring that all of the citizens of this city are able to prosper and raise their children in a safe and environment free area. So my background, I'm an expert that has identified specifically in risk management, specifically in business as well, business and government, identifying risk management as well. I am a social service worker, and I've worked with in social services for over 10 years. So not only as a mother, I have been able to identify what it is for the working class people. We worry about some of the concerns that we worry about, raising our children in an environment free of pesticides and environmentally risky areas, such as the sludge sites in the Dunbar area. I am a mother that understands the importance of putting food on the table, but also raising our children and being able to provide for their health care. And I am also a daughter of the city of Fort Myers. Both of my parents are here. So I really am focused on making this city not only a progressive city, but this is a movement for the protection of the working families, of our families, our children, and generations forward. I am a woman, and I am ready and willing to stand up. I am one of the first women that have ran in the last probably 50 years, actually, since 1948 for mayor of the city of Fort Myers. And I am the first Black woman to step forward and do this. So this is a movement, this is a progressive movement where we are going to protect our constitutional rights for women, health, and women's rights as well. So I am happy to be here. I am moving forward, standing up for the people, all of the people of our city, but most of all, moving this entire state forward in a positive manner. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you all. Wonderful comments. Do you want to ask the first question there, Marian?
Okay, sure. Todd, you mentioned mask mandates. Dr. Fauci recently expressed a suggestion that there may be a need to nationally mandate masks. So I'm wondering, and that's a big issue for me. It's a big issue for women. What if elected? What do you think about, all three of you, mandating masks on a national, state, and local level?
I get to go first?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Speaking from 30 years of healthcare experience, I've always made it very clear to the clinical folks that have license to practice medicine that don't let me do that. I'm a bureaucrat. Okay. So I do get 40 hours of renewal for my license of medical education, but I'm the bureaucrat who does the billing and makes sure the lights stay on and we have plenty of rubber gloves. So when it comes to what the nurses and doctors say, that's what I follow. And my job is just to make sure the paycheck's clear and everybody's happy and taken care of. So that's my role in healthcare. And so my role in government would be the same, to listen to the experts and take their advice and make sure that that is followed for everyone's safety. We have more regulations for skilled nursing facilities, also known as nursing homes, than nuclear regulatory facilities. Because if you think about your mom, your dad, your grandma, you want more rules covering them and making sure they're safe and secure. And I'm the red tape guy. I know all those rules and regulations. For joy, I read those rules and regulations and I make sure we follow them. And I have a history of following the rules, and my facilities score better than most, if not all. I won't say all, I'm not bragging, but my facilities do very well because I read the book and we stick by the book. And so in government, you can count on the same. If those experts recommend wearing a mask, you bet your bippy that's going to be the policy. You got to watch the language though about the mandates, because in local government, county commissioners can pass an ordinance, not a law, not a mandate. So be careful about that language. So the rule would fall under something like no shirt, no shoes, no mask, then no service. So that's how it would work. And that falls under the Department of Health. So if you want a business license and you want to keep your doors open and you don't follow those simple steps, then you can lose that license from the Department of Health or your business license. So it's easy to regulate. It's easy to enforce. We just have to get it through some, let me say, numbskulls.
Well,
That science works.
I know in Michigan, there are ordinances requiring the public to wear a mask in the street. So it's not just a business related.
Right. Well, again, you're talking to county, city, and state. So
Mhm.
they would have different answers depending on their scope of practice.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Todd. Either one of you want to respond to Marion's question? Your choice.
I yield to Miss Jackie.
Okay.
Well, I am from day one, with regards to the city and utilizing every possible, the strength that we have and the ability that we have to protect the citizens of the city of Fort Myers. I am an expert that has been identified by the 20th Judicial Circuit in identification of risk. And part of that risk is identifying from an actuarial basis. And that basically is numbers. So let me give you some numbers here. We have about over 3,377 new cases of COVID right now. And it brings the state up to over 782,000 cases total in the state of Florida of COVID-19. The experts, now I stay in what my expertise is, and that's identification of what the risk is. But we have doctors that are experts in epidemiology that tells us, number one, that these cases, due to the environment, when it gets colder, we are going to have a rise. They have not been wrong thus far. They have identified it. It has come to pass. This information is identified and specifically documented of what is going to take to get control of COVID. So we need to look at those experts and be guided by those experts. And whatever it tells us that we need to do from a city standpoint, that's what I am willing to do to protect the citizens. I believe I've spoken to many business owners who said that if we were behind them with either our mandates or whether the laws may be passed or ordinances, if they need to say no service without a mask, they need that support from the city. And I'm willing to give that to them. That way they're able to stay open, but they're also able to keep their business going and keep the people who they service safe.
Excellent. Thank you both.
And
Go ahead.
I would like to also respond that statewide we're seeing cases rise now. I don't believe that we've ever really gotten our arms around the issue of the pandemic. I know that many people out there, many families are struggling. Many moms are trying to keep their families safe. Many grandmas can't see their grandchildren because they're in fear of getting sick. And we haven't controlled the pandemic, and we haven't been able to fully open our economy at this point. The mask issue is simple. It is a public health issue. It is not a requirement to, we all have a requirement to drive on the right side of the road. Now, if someone feels frisky and drives down the left side of the road, it causes havoc. And that's what we're seeing, is that we're not following the public health and we're driving down the wrong side of the road, and everyone's swerving. Everyone's trying to get out of the way of this oncoming semi-truck, if you will. So we need to control the pandemic before we're able to really jumpstart our economy. And I think that once we do that, once we have a special session, we figure out what all of the supports are going to be, what the rules are going to be, I think that we could have a tiered process. So if the transmission rate is below 5%, we do this. If it's between 5 and 10%, we do this. If it's between 10 and 15%, we do this. But that's all based on Department of Health and the science behind it. We can't just fly by the seat of our pants. It doesn't work, it's not effective, and it's not efficient for anyone. And I want parents to be felt that their kids are safe, that they are safe, that their parents are safe. And I want grandmas and grandpas to be able to see their grandkids.
Excellent. Thank you all three. Jackie, the word development is a very important word, obviously. And there are a lot of issues around the country, but certainly in Southwest Florida and in Fort Myers in particular. But questions are, what kind of development and development for whom? That latter question is critical, development for whom? As you look at the status of Fort Myers today and its future, how do you weigh in on development, directions in Fort Myers, and answering the question, development for whom?
Well, first of all, we need to, over 17,000 of our residents live below the poverty level. So this is one of the things, and these are hard-working people. Many of them are working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. So, and yet and still, their income isn't rising, but the cost of rent or to own a home is rising exponentially. So one of the things that I can see is developing like a community land trust where we can start providing affordable housing and attainable housing for these working people. Many people don't really understand the fact that these working people are the ones that keep our economy going. If, for say, any of them were to walk away, the lot of them were to walk away, our economy would actually plummet because they are the ones that keep this economy moving. So it doesn't make sense that we're forcing them to live outside of the city to be able to work within the city. It's costing them more money and it's making it more difficult for everyone. So we need to look at affordable housing as well as attainable housing for those middle, the teachers, the firefighters, the police officers that are working every day. They're still having difficulty as well, just providing for a roof over their heads. So looking at that, what can we do? Bringing the affordable housing available, making it available for the working class citizens. Also, the multifamily housing. That's another route that we need to take a look at, where we can have multiple families living within a smaller area. So now we can serve many people without having all of these single family homes available for everyone as well, because there's a lot of people that cannot afford it. So also looking at making the rent stabilize, where our rent is going up by 7 to 10% every year. However, our incomes are not going up. So how can we stabilize that rent to ensure that it doesn't go up any more than about 2 to 3% per year? So now we can start stabilizing everything. Kind of goes back to what Shawn was saying. We got to get a grip on this first. We got to get a handle on this first. And it is truly out of control. Also, making a plan. Right now with COVID-19, there's so many people that are possibly going to be out with the moratorium being taken away. And now people are going to be possibly homeless. What are we going to do with this situation? And from what I understand right now, I haven't heard any plans from our governor as to how he's going to address it. How are we going to get people back to work? How are they ensuring that the CARES money is being applied to the right people, these small businesses that are going under? So right now it's really, it's out of control. So how can we step back, get control of this, make a plan, and put that plan in place and be proactive rather than reactive? That is what we need to do. And that's what I plan on bringing to the city of Fort Myers.
Yeah. Amen. Marian, you mentioned earlier that we've endorsed Women's March. Fort Myers has endorsed all 3 candidates. There are loads of issues facing women today. I'll turn to you. Let's explore at least one of those issues.
Well, I was just going to say that the Women's March Fort Myers believes that women's rights are human rights, and we advocate for issues like reproductive rights, social justice, and equality for all. And I'd like to help to advance our cause.
Advancing the cause. It's funny you should ask that question on the day that Amy Coney Barrett is going to be sworn in or approved by the U.S. Senate. Again, that's a national level, but its implications ripple throughout the nation down to states and local government. Just a couple weeks ago, it was in the news that somebody tried to firebomb the new Planned Parenthood in Fort Myers. That's in Lee County. That's hitting home, and those repercussions affect all the women throughout the nation, and from state to state, city to city, and county to county. I've always been a strong advocate for women's rights. I've always hired the best candidate for the job, not by their gender, but by their qualifications, skills, and experience. I'm concerned for the future of our nation with that new Supreme Court justice that may very well be voted in today. Personally, what I can do is what I've always done, continue to pay equally when I hire somebody, pay men and women the same rate for the same job, with the same qualifications, same skills, same education. Not have a preference for male or female, but for who's best qualified for any jobs that I hire for. When I run nursing homes, I hire for the clinical experience, the education, the licensure, and I pay attention to references, and those are the things that we should pay attention to when we hire anybody for any position. And I think that is what we can do here at the local level, whether you're hiring for the pizza shop, the bank manager, or the accountant for your business, or your attorney. So those are things that, it's not negating the fact that there are genders. It's that recognizing the equality among the genders and not discriminating. The same basis falls for race as well.
I'm just dying to talk about this because, of course, I'm a woman. So this is so near and dear to me because I've seen what happens where young women are, they don't have the access to quality health care. They don't have the access to certain education or being able to rise up in some of the positions that they have, due to the fact that there's such a disparity of not only income, but just promotions when it comes to women. So these are some of the things that I face personally, I've overcome personally, but I think the thing about it is also educating the women from a local level, providing the support. There's a program, I have been endorsed by former candidate for president, Andrew Yang. And I am in such support of Mayors for Universal Guaranteed Income. This is going to provide that guaranteed income to provide a solid foundation for many of those single mothers that are out there, whether it may be due to divorce or whether it may be due to any other outside issues or situations. But there's so many single mothers right now that are raising children. There are so many families out there that are raising children that, again, it comes back to income. Are they able to provide for their children? Are they able to provide for that extra education for their children, the tutoring that they can be able to utilize this guaranteed income for their kids to rise them up to a level where they can play on a level playing field, where their children can compete on a level playing field. But not only that, where their parents can compete on a level playing field. So knowledge is power. So providing that guaranteed income, they're able to provide for daycare, they're being able to provide for their bills, to make sure that their bills are paid on time, to ensure that their children, if they need any extra help with regards to education, they can pay that tutor to be able to come in and help them. or they can let go one of those jobs, one of those 2 or 3 jobs that they have, so they can be home with their kids to help their children become more stronger in knowledge, safety, and understanding, and be able to make a stronger family unit. So when we think about women from this aspect, from a local level, this is what I would like to see happening within the local level within the city of Fort Myers. I would love to open up or start a pilot program, which Andrew is certainly supportive of being able to do that. So we can start that pilot program here. It has been successful in Atlanta. It has been extremely successful in Mississippi. And these families have overcome a lot just by having that solid foundation of knowing that they don't have to stress over where they're going to get their food from, how they're going to pay their bills by this guaranteed income.
Mhm. Very good. Thank you. You know, Todd, when I read the news press and talk with people, one of the things that comes out with the county commission is that the perception is they're not always there uh, for the people when the people really need them. This pandemic has been an example. Clearly, you would be there. So if you could comment about, not to be critical, but just an assessment of where the county commission is at this point and what contributions you would make if elected, and you'll be there in a matter of weeks. It's a major hill climb.
It's not a hill that I cannot climb.
Yeah.
I like to brag sometimes when I get the opportunity that I, at 38 years of age, I dragged my 9 and 11-year-old kids down into the bowels of the Grand Canyon on foot. And it took 8 hours down and 11 hours out the next day. 120-degree temperature at the surface, and the water in the Colorado River was 45 degrees at the bottom. We spent the night and then hiked out the next day. It's not too steep a hill to climb for me, Frank. I'm up to the challenge. And my kids now point to that experience as something that was character building and a lifetime experience. So this is no challenge that I'm not up to taking on. Let me tell you that. I've had a career of great responsibility of life and death decisions, financial decisions, and staff in great numbers where I'm responsible for their finances, their well-being, their safety, security, and I have not backed down from that challenge or failed them. As county commission, yes, it's heavy is the head that wears that responsibility, and I understand that some of those folks that carry that crown show up at 11 in the morning on a weekday. I mentioned before that I manage by walking around. Yeah, I am not the desk jockey. I am not the instant email responder. I check out my emails in the morning and then I go on about my day. And you can expect the same thing from me as county commissioner. I will check my emails and respond when I see them in the morning. But the rest of my day, I've always been this way. And I learned this a long time ago, is you manage by walking around. If you're out in the field and you're on the floor, and whether it's a clinical environment or as a social worker, you learn by going out and finding the people and seeing them in action. So you won't see me in that grand chamber of the office that I may be elected to hold. You'll see me out with the guys on the truck shoveling gravel in a suit, if I happen to be wearing a suit, or in shorts and a polo shirt. You'll see me with the ladies who are crunching the numbers in the accounting department, asking specific questions about specific numbers to make sure that I get an understanding of what they're up to and how they're doing at what they're doing. I'm not an expert in all fields, and that's why I make sure to hire experts in each field and then rely on them to do their job. And if they can explain to me their job, if the need be, or break it down in a layman's terms, then I can explain it when I have to speak to the voters and the constituents in the county. And so that's what you can depend on me for. It's a political role to run a nursing home or an assisted living. You have to attend to the staff, the residents, the vendors, the clinicians, the licensure folks, the estate inspectors, the health inspectors, and all the other regulators that can pop in, the fire marshal. At any given time, you need to address their needs and prove that you know what you're doing, that you're familiar with the laws and rules and regs, and how you're compliant. And you can count on that for me. I'll be reading, I have been reading, actually, I've been preparing for this for some time, this position. I took classes at FGCU in local government management and planning, building, and zoning, and in government human resources. And I expect to continue towards that certificate that they offer at FGCU in local government management. There's some experts in the field, and why not learn from them and get the books and read them to prepare for the positions we want.
Mhm. Very good. For those of you watching, we've lost Shawn because of technical issues, and hopefully he'll rejoin us soon. But I want to key off on what you just said, Todd. I'll use the word engagement, engaging with the people. And Jackie, obviously, you're excellent at that. What have you learned from engaging with people around Fort Myers? What are they telling you about their issues, their needs, their aspirations, their expectations for you as mayor? What are the people saying?
Wow, this is just being able to, I've always loved, being around people. And, when I became in social worker, I could have sat behind a desk and I had the opportunity to go into upper management, but I chose to be in the field to supervise. And that basically being in there, out there, walking the streets, talking to the people, and ensuring that the investigators that are being trained, that I'm supervising them to know how to do the job in the very best way. And that's relating to people. But one of the things this weekend, we had a really great gathering at the Stars Complex, and so many people came out. And we actually had some little signs to pick out and choose what was your most concern. And the ones that were consistent was social justice, as well as the ensuring that we are able to for affordable housing. And that kind of tells you what people are really, really concerned about. They want to be sure that they can trust that if their kids go out, or if they go out and they're working at night and they're pulled over in the middle of the night, that they can come home safely. As a parent of two Black young men, that's something I worry about every single day when they go out. And unless you've actually lived it, it's very hard to comprehend the stress, the constant and chronic stress of that. And this is something that happens more so than not in so many Black and brown families
Mhm.
of mothers. These are some real concerns. My nephew, who's actually 6'4" and attends FGCU, I just need to share this. He had a flat tire, and he called me under an extreme amount of distress because of the fact that he was in fear. And no one should have to deal with something like that. This is a straight A student, top of his class, but because of a flat tire, he has these types of concerns. So he's off on the side of the road. I meet him there. I'm standing there with him, and several police officers passed by and no one stopped. Do you want to know who stopped and helped? It was the fire department. Huge rig. And they pulled over this huge red truck, and they pulled over and helped him change his tire. That is community help. That is what community policing should be and what it should look like. So we're looking at safety. People want to know that they are safe within their homes, but also when they're out and they're about and they're visiting families, ensuring that they're not being exposed to COVID, that they're not having to tell people, would you mind putting on a mask, and being assaulted because they asked for that. Another thing was the affordable housing. We have, again, the businesses were out and about. They are terrified of what's going to happen if COVID is not addressed, and how are they going to take care of their families, but also being able to afford housing and ensure that they have food available for their families. These are some of the major issues that we as, not only as a city, but as county government, as state government, that we really need to focus on, because these are the cares and this is what happens for the people. If they're worried about it, it should be on the top of our list of what needs to be addressed.
Thank you for that. Shawn, it's good to have you back with us. You're able
I'm glad to be back, finally.
Very good. We're talking about engagement, engaging with the public and what the candidates are learning. Obviously, there are plenty of issues in Tallahassee. What are you learning as you talk with citizens and voters? What's on their minds?
Well, I'm seeing basically two economies. I'm seeing one for those who are established and were doing well before the pandemic, and I'm seeing another where families are struggling more than they were before the pandemic. And it seems to be getting harder for those at the bottom of our economy to get grasp and to get back to work. It's hard for moms to find childcare. It's hard for families to send their kids back to school. These are really tough decisions that individuals are having to make based on the system that they've been handed. And they're really struggling to, if they do go face to face, then they're worried about isolating their families and isolating their grandparents and maybe those who are immunocompromised in their families. And it is causing social isolation. And I think that, unfortunately, a lot of families right now are dealing with a lot of trauma, not only from this pandemic, but from the racial conflicts that we're seeing in communities. We're seeing women that are wanting to provide for their families, and they have the desire to, but they just can't actually put all of the pieces together. And I'm seeing too many families falling through the cracks, and even small businesses falling through the cracks. When the PPP monies were released, unfortunately, a lot of those funds were actually drawn up by folks that weren't even eligible for it, which it left the small businesses absolutely out in the cold and wondering what to do with their employees. Nobody wants to fire someone or lay them off when they've been there for, 10 plus years. But when it comes down to, do I have the money to pay them? I'm not going to ask them to work and not be able to pay them. So I see it across the board. We do have two economies. We do have folks struggling. We do have people doing very well. We have people that are set, they still get their pension checks because those are automated, and they still get their Social Security checks. That's perfectly fine. But a lot of our seniors are also dealing with issues of isolation. They're dealing with rent increases with their income being basically static. And we're finding many of those that are having a tough time making ends meet, paying their power bill, paying their rent or mortgage, and just getting back to some normalcy. And we're going to have to create some new normal. And it is going to have to be a cooperative effort between the city, the state, the local governments, because it can't be done in silos. We have got to take the approach, a holistic approach, where we can get things back to some sort of normal that we can all agree on. And we need to start with some interlocal agreements, and let's fix our zoning. Let's fix our impact fees. Let's fix these things that, have been on the sidelines for many years. Many people just think that, oh, that doesn't affect me. But when it comes down to it, it really does. It affects the prices of homes. It affects what
choices of housing we have. And right now we're limited, and it's a supply demand issue that we just have to take care of. Thanks.
So well stated. Let's do a final round robin where you can make your final comments, and then we'll say goodbye to our audience. Let's start with Jackie and then go around the horn.
Again, thank you so much for inviting me on here. I feel wonderful to be surrounded and supported by such leaders as Todd and Shawn, and knowing that we're going to work together to bring this community, to bring this county, to bring this state in one accord. One of the things that I think that we have so lost is our sense of empathy for others. We can thank God for some of the things that we've been blessed to have, but we can't forget about those people who are struggling, because if they struggle, eventually we are going to struggle as well. We are not sitting up. We need to get rid of this caste system that we have and know that we are all one people, and that when one suffers, all of us suffers. It's the same thing with this pandemic. It may have started out in one area, but look at what's happened. It's engulfed the entire world here, and everyone is suffering. So it starts out with one. So if you think about those the haves and the have-nots, when I think about this city, we have one side of the city that may be flourishing, and they're happy, and they feel safe, and all of their needs are being met. But on the other side, we have a city that is struggling with those same things, that their needs are not being met. So when you have that, everyone will eventually be affected. We need to bring empathy back to our society. We need to bring empathy and integrity back to city government, to state government, county government, and this whole political system, because we've forgotten about the one thing that makes us even be able to run and have a job here, and that's the people. The people needs us, and they need us dedicated to their needs and achieving their needs and ensuring that their needs are going to be met. That's what I'm here for. I want to bring this city together. Instead of having those two sides of the city, on one side of the tracks and another, we need to bring it together. And I want to take this city in a new direction. I want to bring, and I will bring, integrity back. I will bring transparency back. But I want everyone to feel safe and know how it is. I've lived on both sides, so I felt it all. I've been a corporate owner. I know what small businesses and the struggles of small businesses are, and knowing how those small business leaders currently right now feel. I know what it's like to be a single mom and raise children and worry about the safety of your kids, the education for your kids, and what their life is going to look like in a city that does not want them to flourish. I know what it's like as a woman and having to struggle just to get ahead and only making 83 cents compared to my counterpart who's making $1, and having to work twice as hard to achieve exactly what they would achieve in less half of the time. And I'm used to it. I have the strength, I have the stamina, but most of all, I have the fortitude and the integrity to do it. There's negative things around, but I forget about that and I focus on the prize of being there for the people. I walk, I talk, but I speak what I say and I do what I say, and I make it happen. And that's what I want to bring to the city government, and work with these wonderful men here to work it all the way up to the state to make our people safe, happy, and flourish in this state of Florida. Thank you so much for having me. I want to see everyone out to the polls, vote, vote, vote. And we are working on women. We have to make sure that although Amy is there, we need to make sure our rights are in place. And that's going to start from the local level. And we won't stop until we make sure that our rights are in place as women and as human beings.
Public service. Thank you very much. Todd, You're chomping at the bit, I can see. You're up.
I can be polite, keep my mouth shut. But my opinions are pretty well known. I'm not a poker player. I can't lie. Unfortunately, you'll see me at the blackjack tables or maybe with craps, but I can't afford baccarat. But those are where the better odds are, and your better odds are with me. My interests are your interests. My special interests are your special interests. I don't have anybody funding this campaign by the $1,000 checks, 10 after 10 after 10. I've been in town for 22 years and serving the community as a whole, no matter rich or poor, white or black, infirm or in health. I've taken care of everybody who needs the help that I can offer. My opponent, he's got 150 friends that wrote a $1,000 check. And I've got thousands of friends that I took good care of and employed for all these years I've been here. You can count on more of that. I'll keep doing the same. Win or lose, I still will serve this community. I can serve the community better from the seat at the county commission. I'm for growth. I support growth and development. I'm a proponent of smart growth. I just studied it and I'm prepared for it. We need to grow up, not out. And what we've been doing is sprawling and sprawling and sprawling. And we've seen it in other cities where we just want further and further and further to drive for our suburbs and our gated communities and our preserves with our lake views, to the point where we've paved paradise, bulldozed the orange groves, and trampled whatever nature was there before we got there. To the point where if you drive down Daniels Road on your way to the baseball stadium and on further to Lehigh Acres, where I joked about Shawn being way out there in the boondocks, it's not so much the boondocks anymore. There's a place along Daniels Road where it says Panther Crossing. You have to slow down at night when you go through there. And our county commissioners have authorized gated communities a mile long, right where we know the Panthers cross. We've tracked them. We've seen the maps. I've done the study. And we have allowed a mile of Panther crossing territory to be walled in with flags a waving, come buy this condo, come buy this house for $300,000, because we're going to call it like Panther Preserve or something when we've not preserved the Panthers. If you want more development like that, hire the developer because he wants that job. He knows how to put up a box store and a strip mall. He can do that for you right away. But if you want to get through the pandemic, hire the healthcare guy. Hire the guy who knows how to manage finances and watches every penny because he treats them as if they're his own. The choice is clear. Make the choice, November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shawn, you have the last word.
Well, Frank and Marian, thank you so much for hosting us today, and thank you for your endorsement. I really appreciate it. I stand in solidarity with all women of the community. And we've got a lot at stake this election. We've got our economy, we've got our environment, and we've got our education system, all at the hands of people that we don't know. And we need to be able to trust those folks. And reproductive justice is out there as well. And these things don't automatically just go to the Supreme Court. It's usually a state that passes that law that gets contested, and then it moves through the court system and up through the Supreme Court. So we have a lot at stake on this election. And on November 3rd, that is the last possible day that you can cast your ballot. I want you to think of 3 friends that you can speak to engage with, and remind them to vote, because this is what's at stake. We have crumbling infrastructure. We have defunding of our schools. We have paradise being paved over. We have urban sprawl. We have families that can't afford to even survive, that are paying, just in Lee County, we have 110 families that are paying more than 30% of their gross income only on housing. 55,000 of those are paying more than 50% in housing. We can do better. We can make it better for all who live in Lee County, because we need every single person that is here to be here. But we need everyone to lift together and not separately. When I talk about silos, I come from experience. I grew up on a farm. I had to feed the chickens and feed the horses and feed the cows and feed the pigs. And we didn't keep all of the feed in separate areas because that was too susceptible to wildlife. So we would keep it all in one and then we would distribute it. And that's what we need to do as a state and local and city governments, is we need to distribute that and be a steward of that to grow everything around us, not just the pigs, not just the horses, not just the beef, not just the chickens. We need everyone to grow together. And if elected November 3rd, I will go to work. One other thing that is out there that is at stake is the first item of business that our legislative contingency is going to deal with is redistricting, redrawing the boundaries of lines. We saw what happened in 2010. We can't allow that to happen again. You need someone who will be there for your vote and not allow the politicians to choose their voters. We have to elect our officials to represent us. We can no longer allow the politicians to choose us. So I ask for your vote on, at the latest, November 3rd at 7 p.m. But I want you to try and vote early. Keep your family safe. Keep your friends and family close, and be sure to reach out and say hi and remind them to vote. Thank you.
I think Todd's going to vote for you.
Yeah.
Williams.
Already
I'm early
have.
voting. I voted by mail.
Talking about voting, last word to you, Marian.
All right. The absolutely most important thing we can do right now until November 3rd is exercise our right to vote. As Jackie said, vote, vote, vote. If we do that, I am confident we'll be proud of our country again, and we can really make the changes that we need to make. Thank you.
Thank you, all three of you. Thank you, Marian. Thank you, candidates. I'm inspired. Really, you just warmed my heart in terms of the thoughts and philosophies. And there's Cindy Banyai for Congress. I mean, Todd, you're really, do you have any other banners there
I got
today?
the props.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for hanging with us. This was a very invigorating conversation. I'm Frank Fear for Women's March Fort Myers, and I hope we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.